Welcome to the Elite Life Podcast with your hosts, Trisha and Kylie. Here, we guide you on a journey of personal and professional transformation, revealing the secrets to success. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, join us as we unlock the doors to the elite world of growth, grit, and grace. So, let's dive in.
Welcome, friends, to another episode of the Elite Life Podcast. We are so glad you joined us today. My name's Trish.
I'm Kylie, and today we have an amazing guest, someone who has built a thriving career in the financial sector, and he has really I'm so glad you're here to talk about everything business, everything networking. So we are talking with our friend, Anthony DeGuzman.
Hey, great to be here. It's my very first podcast. Just want to throw that out there.
He's prefacing the conversation so you all know. It's going to be a great conversation. When we had lunch at El Patio, I was super floored when you were telling me about your story and how you came to the financial sector and just like overcoming all of these hurdles. And then just talking about how you've built your business. You know, there was this company and that company, and you are just like self-sufficient. I was like, he's coming on the show.
I am super excited to learn all of this. So we always like to start at the start. So if you can tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, what your family was like, how'd you get here? Give us the lowdown.
Like all stories, I was born, I was raised, I became. But
we were all born. Now we already have something in common. We're best friends.
I'm quoting Oliver Twist. But anyways, I was born and raised in Detroit. On a 6:30 p.m. in a dark and stormy night on October 24th, 1984. So, yeah, I'm old. But myself, I grew up over in Southwest Detroit for the better part of 21 years. Me and my family, we moved over to Madison Heights back when I turned 21, been there ever since. Went to school. I hated school over at Southwest Detroit. Preface that there. I know that some of them are going to see this, and they'll probably agree with me. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until college that I really started, becoming into my own as a person. But I went to college over at Wayne State University. I was a double major in business and what was supposed to be marketing.
Okay.
But they required calculus for marketing at the time. And so I switched that to public relations, which is basically just qualitative marketing, if we're being honest.
Mm-hmm.
And then I graduate and find out you don't need calculus anymore for marketing. I'm like, really? Okay. So as far as my family goes, I'm Filipino, so very family-oriented. We all get together for holidays. We celebrate with good food, good companionship, and we have a big family. We've got in my neighborhood, we have 3 houses full of our family members.
Oh my goodness!
Alone, and But that's the gist of it, actually.
So when you were growing up, was there what was it like when we were talking about, okay, Anthony, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Oh boy. So
loaded questions.
I'm barely certain my mom and dad's going to see this. So growing up, there was always this pressure to, standard Filipino, become a doctor, become a lawyer, become an engineer. And, when I started over at Wayne State University, my first goal was to go into pre-med. And a couple of years in, and I realized I really didn't like it. So when I switched to business, it was a complete 180.
Yeah.
And I almost said 360. But it was a complete 180. And, really rediscovering my love for business. Actually, that came from my very first job. I was working for Colombo's Coney Island as a busboy. And
Okay.
there was a waitress there who was talking about becoming a business owner. And I was like, how do you become a business owner? What exactly do they do? Mind you, I was young and didn't really have a lot of experience. And she basically said, you're your own boss. You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about that. And I was like, wait, really?
That sounds good.
That's what appealed me to business. And that planted the seed to be able to look at how to not only start, but also to grow my own business. And that kept with me throughout much of my young life until I got a little older. And then I started finding other avenues. There were a lot of things I wanted to try doing. I won't it's like not including, but not limited to a piano bar, a restaurant. In fact, I may still open that restaurant one of these days, but as a love project.
Yeah.
But then I stumbled onto financial services and completely by accident. And
Okay. How did that happen?
that's a very good question. So when I was going to school, I was also a marketer for a home improvement company. Basically, I was a living billboard in a mall. I would be like, "Hi, would you like a coupon? Hi, would you like a coupon? Hi, would you like to?"
Did
set
you have
up an
a
appointment?"
costume?
Yeah, I wish I did.
Like I always see at tax time, like the people in the
Liberty costumes?
The Liberty costumes,
Yes.
and you're like waving your
Or
finger.
the wavy inflatable tube.
Oh, wacky
Yeah.
inflatable tube man! I want to get one of those for Fall Fest one year.
We will.
I didn't even know what it was until Family Guy.
Oh. Wacky waving inflatable tube.
Yeah,
We learn our best life lessons from Family Guy, right?
For sure. Definitely.
So, with that, I had just graduated from college, and what happened was I went to the Philippines for about a month, I think. Came back and found out I was getting laid off.
Oh.
But it was also a blessing in disguise because I was getting so burnt out. I was getting so burned out.
Standing in the mall, handing out
Standing in the
flyers.
mall, you're not allowed to read a book. You're not allowed to go on your phone to check your messages. And if there's like a secret shopper who catches you from like 200 feet away, you get in trouble. So
Yeah.
I'm like, really? So, as I said, it was a blessing in disguise. And when that happened, I dove into the job searching market, went to this job fair, and I told myself, I'm going to dress up as nicely as I can. And whichever positions matches me is what I'm going to look into. Now, when I got there, there was like there was McDonald's. Of course, there was McDonald's. There was Abercrombie and Fitch. There was Hollister. There was all that. And I was like, that's what I was looking for. And there were 4 firms, all of them dressed up nicely, and all of them were in the financial field. And I went in there. I talked to them. I gave my information, handed out my resume, and they told me that I was the only one dressed up in a suit.
You're like, that's okay.
You got to dress for success, right?
Absolutely.
Look good, feel good, play good.
What do you say? Dress for the job you want, not for the job you have.
Absolutely. And that's how I ended up with my first firm, where I ended up getting licensed in financial services to be able to do all that. And 6 months later, I actually jumped firms due to circumstances outside of my control, where I ended up spending almost 5 years. Maybe 6 years or something like that. My time kind of gets
It all melds
weird.
together,
It all melds
right?
Together, where I cut my teeth in the industry, learning the ins and outs of financial services, of being able to talk to people, being able to present solutions to people, being able to identify problems. And there was a completely different culture from, how I go about doing things now. But I like to think of it as trial by fire.
Yeah.
You come out of there, you come out stronger, you come out, or you bail entirely. And, my story going forward, I did well with that firm. I did, very well with my firm, actually. I still have a lot of the awards and accolades from that firm that I keep in my home office as a reminder of where I was. And I'm very thankful for that company. especially some of my mentors. Hey, here's a shout out. David Hoory being one of them. He was a general. He was very commanding, but he taught me discipline. Another one was Sally Dukas. She was my very first sales development manager. She taught me. She had that strong New York personality. Keep fighting. And another one was Linda Crumbly. She was actually the salesman manager coming after Sally, and she taught me a lot about compassion, empathy, being able to talk with the client and trying to relate to them on a one-to-one level rather than just like, oh yeah, this is where I'm at and this is where you're at. Like that. So, but sadly, in everything, all good things come to an end, and my time with that company had passed, and I joined a different company over in Troy that I'll remain nameless because, for reasons. Somebody will probably end up seeing this, but all I would say is that it felt like high school all over again. And,
I think we've all been there.
Company culture is literally one of the most important things. Like, obviously, being a leader myself, I read like all the leadership books and the podcasts and things, and they will say like people don't necessarily like quit the job. They quit the culture. Like, if you can't believe in that company's mission and you don't like, I've worked at a place where it was like high school too. Like, I'd sit in the parking lot like I don't want to go in, I don't want to go in, I don't want to go in. Right. And when we went to go build Elite Realty, the first thing we did before we did anything was sit down and write like our mission, our vision, our values. And I talk about them all the time. And nearly every agent inside of our office can name at least one of our
Integrity.
values. There you go. Right. And that's important because that's one of the litmus tests. Like, is your company living its culture? If none of your people can say any of your values, then they're not. And if you don't have a strong company culture, then just like you said, like people aren't going to want to stay there. That's not going to be home for them. And you spend usually more time at work than you do at home.
Right.
So it's important.
Yep. And I will say this, my current firm, Preferred Financial Partners, hey, shout out. What I love about it is I'm treated as independent and part of a team. I am independent, but I say I work with Preferred Financial Partners, not for Preferred Financial Partners. And one good thing about it is I'm left to my own devices. No useless meetings at 7 a.m. in the morning just to get yelled at, and nobody breathing down your neck to make sure. I mean, it's like there are a couple people and everything that say, hey, how's this coming along? But nothing like how it was back in the past. And that's how I function the best. Kind of like, when you were a kid, you were at the kitchen sink, you're about to wash the dishes, and then mom comes up behind you, hey, don't forget to wash the dishes. Now you don't want to wash the dishes.
Right. It's so true. It's so true.
And I love where I'm at. There are a couple of challenges and everything, which I've indicated with you when we had lunch together.
Yeah.
I basically, while I am independent, I have to be creative in how I find business. And that's actually only after I went independent that I really started to understand the importance of networking, of being able to create meaningful connections, meaningful friendships, meaningful relationships that will create the name flow that will come in of people that you really want to work with. And actually, that's the big difference. I actually work with people my clients are people that I actually want as clients now. Not just anybody. It's like not just anybody and everybody. Not to say that I don't talk with any. Somebody needs me and everything. I will talk to them, but I'm no longer actively seeking out.
Yeah.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's important because when you're doing quality over quantity, those people that are people you want to work with, you guys have a good experience together, and then they're going to refer other people that are like you and like them. So that circle keeps growing because the experience is great and you have like-minded people doing like-minded business.
Exactly. And I will say that have been actually quite recently where I've sat down with someone and thought to myself, yeah, this isn't going to work out. It's not you, it's me.
and that's okay. I feel like for entrepreneurs, whether you're in real estate or financial services or you're selling earthworms, I feel like that is a very important piece of the puzzle to be comfortable with, is when you meet people, you know, like we're all out to help people. Like we are all out to solve problems in our areas of expertise, right? But when you meet people, and there have been plenty of times too where I've met with people or I've talked with someone and I just felt like I don't want to say it's not that I didn't want to work with them. It was just like, we're not going to be a good fit for each other. And that's okay, because you don't want to get into a business relationship with someone, whether they're a client or, you know, you're Trisha and you're bringing an agent on, who is going to make you have those feelings of, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to answer this phone call, things like that. And there have been times where, you know, I've said, you know what, this person's personality makes me think of this other person in our office. And I'll refer them over there and just say, hey, I think you guys are going to get along a lot better. And because again, like Trisha just said, like you just said, we're working to create an experience when we're solving these people's problems that is going to, you know, cultivate that referral relationship, you know?
I also want to touch on, because when you came into our podcast studio, we had a guest that was leaving, and you guys instantly bonded. Like you guys hugged. Like, so you are absolutely amazing at this, like immediate, like you said, networking, but even just like that confidence to go and talk to somebody immediately, like just open up, become like vulnerable with them and start talking to them, which is not just a normal thing that most people have. Like to be able to enter a room and start talking to someone who doesn't look like you, isn't on the same subjects as you and things like that, and instantly become best friends like that. Like
you guys did too.
Skill. Yeah. Like that's a skill that you've cultivated. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you built that skill and cultivated that personality. Because it's not something you're just born with, where you walk in a room and say, hey, stranger, let's be best friends and go out to dinner.
I mean, at least not after the age of 10.
Right.
Like, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, one, I love to make friends. You know, I love people. That's something I can share now. I used to not like people, but, you know, I do a lot of like character development. I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of, motivational material. And I realized as I got older, my empathy got bigger. And, you know, to be able to empathize, to be able to relate, to be able to, I actually work with a life coach, and he identified it for me. He calls it, I forgot what he called it, something empathy or something like that. But he actually helped cultivate that aspect within me, and which is why I can start up random conversations with, rock star dudes, with the random person at the.
Well, I mean, when you and I met at the bookstore, you just like jumped right in, and you were like, "Oh, you're the real estate friend that Bevan has." Like, I met him through Bevan at one of her book signings.
And I don't go in with the mindset of, oh, I'm going to sell this person. No, I go in with the mindset of, I'm making a new friend.
Yeah.
And if something comes out of it business-wise, great. If nothing comes out of it business-wise, also great. Because, you have a new friend. And, we all could use friends. We all could use relationships. And, that's... You can put me in an abandoned island and I'll make friends with the crabs.
You're like the guy with the volleyball, the Wilson volleyball.
Yeah,
oh, don't tempt me. Oh, don't tempt me.
So you mentioned you read a lot of books. So what do you think, because we love to give our listeners resources, what do you think are some great books to read to start to cultivate those skills of confidence and just being able to move outside your comfort zone?
Oh, that is a very good question. There are quite a few books that I like. 48 Laws of Power is a great one. I need to reread that, actually, now think about it. The Art of War is good. But as far as like personal skills, I like, the 5 love languages. Now, people ask, why the 5 love languages? Isn't that just for couple stuff? And actually it applies to business too, because, when you meet up with a client, of course, does everybody know what the 5 love languages?
Yes. Yeah.
Being able to apply that with your client. If your client is a words of affirmation kind of person, just kind of like, I'm not going to say stroke their ego and everything, but compliment them, say something you like about them. Or the client is a gift-giving person or a gift-receiving person, nothing big and everything, maybe like a small box of chocolates. If you figure out they have a small tooth, it's about being mindful, being, observant of who you are. That's like who you have in front of you, and being able to ascertain information from that. But again, that's where empathy comes in again, and everything. You're not going in there to, butter them. You are genuinely trying to make them feel, and that's something that I try to convey. A lot of individuals and everything, they think that it's a veneer. No, it's genuine. I genuinely care. And that is something that I feel, I feel like that differentiates me from quite a few people. Because
It does.
And people can feel, we talk a lot about how, as you're growing, it might not be your personality off at the start. So you might like be throwing yourself into situations where you're like we talked about, like getting uncomfortable and things like that. But as you go, people can genuinely feel if you're being fake or not, if you're being authentic or not. And so I love that you're like, nope, this is literally just me 100% of the time. All the interactions that I've seen, you have with me, with other people and things like that. It is you just you all the time.
Yeah, and I know you talked a lot about like networking, and that's kind of a good theme that's coming through here. So a lot of people get really like, even myself, there was a long time where like I didn't want to go to networking events. Like I would sit in my car and be like, I don't want to go here. Now, as soon as I got in the door, it was always like totally fine. Like I got to sit and talk to all the people, but it was just even the anticipation of tomorrow I got to wake up and go to this event and talk to strangers. So like, what are some really like some actionable tips you can give to our listeners about how to like embrace it? Because you said you didn't used to like people and now you do. So how did you flip that?
Okay, so my coach would use Schrodinger's box, Schrodinger's cat, whatever, or something like that. I don't know if you guys know about Schrodinger. Just open the damn box, find out what's in it, what's not. But I understand. There's always that, when I go to a networking event, there's always that 10 or 15 minutes of anxiety, of trepidation, like, oh, what if they don't like me or something like that? Oh, what if I talk too much? Oh, what if they think I'm weird and everything? And for the better part of my year, everybody thought I was weird. Now I embrace it. I embrace your weird. That's your strength. That's your mutant power, whatever you want to call it. And if actionable tips on how to overcome that, myself, I do, when I'm in my car, I listen to something that motivates me, whether it's music, whether it's one of my recordings of a speaker and everything that really gets the fire pumping. It's like, you know what, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to kick some ass, and at least I'm going to get at least one person to like me there. And then you end up leaving with 20 business cards.
Yeah.
And out of those business cards and everything, like maybe 5 of them will actually respond to you, but it's a numbers game.
Yeah,
it's a numbers
absolutely.
Game. It's just the way it is. Or you go in there with one person and that happens to be the game changer. So you just don't know how the cards will play out. But you don't know how the cards will play out until you flip them.
Yeah.
So if you just stay there and you just don't flip the cards, or you like walk away from the table, you may not win. It's like you won't win, you just have, it's like you just have to like find it within you to be able to go in there and just kick some ass.
I think I'm gonna like keep that forever in my mind. Embrace your weird, because like everybody has some weird in them, and I think that's
I'm not weird.
That's where you get
Oh, really?
I'm just kidding. Everybody who listens to our show knows that I'm the weird one.
I've seen you and Bevan interact.
No, Bevan and I together are weird.
Yeah, but it's like how Taylor, our last guest, he was like, oh yeah, I was talking to this guy, and it's like, oh, I like anime and you like anime, and then you walked in and you're like, I play Call of Duty, you play Call of Duty, and like everybody has that like weird thing, and when you can connect on that weird thing, it's almost like a deeper level, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Like, did we just become best friends? Yup. You want to go do karate in the garage? Yup.
Yep.
Preface, I also like anime.
Oh, there you go. See, now you guys have something else to talk about at your dinner.
Oh yeah, it's like going to. In fact, like when I go to anime cons, and people think it's weird, but I network there too.
Yeah. Because people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? And would we have things that we can be relatable about, then like that's
genuine
what we're talking
things.
about. Yeah.
Genuine things. Yeah.
Like, especially with me in my field, if you go to a fellow anime nerd and you have a guy in a 3-piece suit approach them and say, oh, you need to do a financial plan with me, blah, 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 and everything. Versus me, who's in full cosplay, going like, hey, you want to, grab lunch and talk shop sometime? Who do you think they're more likely to want to talk to?
The cosplay guy.
Yeah.
100%.
The old way of doing business is dead. The new way of doing business is in. It's, being able to meet people as people.
Yeah.
And that's something that I have to emphasize strongly because a lot of people who are in business don't. They look at people as numbers, and we shouldn't do that. We should look at them as people because we should also be thankful for the business they give us because that's our livelihood.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't get to where you are without those same people. So you have, respect them, thankful to them.
Yeah, and I'm reading right now the E-Myth about like small businesses, and they say, and it reminded me when you were talking about like being dressed up, like I just read a part where they're talking about like if this guy comes up to you and they're talking about how like IBM's color is blue and how if you are like in a business setting and you're wearing a blue suit, like you are like 95% more likely to be able to make that sale. And they're like, imagine if they picked orange. Like, so picture this, like this guy in this orange suit walks up with these white cowboy boots. Like, who are you buying from? The guy in the blue 3-piece suit with the black wingtip shoes or the guy in the orange suit with the white cowboy boots? Like, people decide in the first like 3 minutes of speaking to you if they're going to do business with you or not. They decide in the first, I think it was like 75 seconds of you talking if they're going to do business with you. It doesn't even matter what your product is. It doesn't matter what you're selling. It doesn't matter if you're doing financial planning, you're selling houses, you're selling earthworms. Like, they've decided upon this, right? So that is so important. Like you said, like thinking it's not about this long play. A lot of times it's that first couple seconds.
I do have to ask, have you had a guest that sells earthworms at one point?
No, that is just my go-to. Like when we talk about because we talk to a lot of real estate agents, we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and like so a lot of times I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're selling real estate like us or you're selling earthworms. I think I got that from like Russell Brunson or someone somewhere along the line. So that is that.
That's a good place to pause real quick. So hang tight. We have so much more to unpack with Anthony. This is amazing, and he's gonna share some awesome things in the second half. So come right back.
Did you know that over 80% of real estate agents call it quits within their first year in the business? It's a staggering statistic. But at mystarsacademy.com, we're here to change that narrative. Our expert-based training and coaching program caters to both agents and brokers. The Agent Accelerator program is your key to leveling up your real estate business. Learn how to generate a constant flow of free leads, convert those leads into loyal clients, and keep them coming back for more as repeat business. Our industry experts bring years of proven success to the table and provide one-on-one coaching to help you achieve structure and work-life balance. We'll map out a plan for you to follow, guiding you through the steps to scale and grow both in your business and personal life. Don't become another statistic. Visit mystarsacademy.com and enroll today to pave the way for your future success.
And we are back. Welcome back, friends.
Yes, we are here talking with our friend Anthony, and he is giving us some really enlightening tips. We were just talking about the 5 love languages and how we can apply that to basically all areas of life. Mm-hmm. And so what I loved when we had lunch was you were telling me about these situations you got in with your previous firms, and when you guys parted ways, they were like, oh, that book of business belongs to us. And so you were at a place where you had to cultivate it from scratch. And that was such a valuable story for me because it really helped me start looking at my own business, and it's like, how can I do better? How can I do better to serve my clients to where I am building my own book of business? Because Trisha, at Elite Realty, we do have leads that come in, and she shares all of that with us. But it's like, I can be a much stronger entrepreneur and help more people if I can do better with serving people. So what were some things when you had to start from scratch? What were some like mental states that you had to be in, and some things that you did to make sure that you started off strong?
Well, I got to tell you, starting all over again from scratch is disheartening. It feels like you live in a house and watch it burn down, and now you got to rebuild it. But, building the house the first time, you maintained or you retained all the information that you had in being able to build that house in the first place. In my case, I retained a lot of the skills, a lot of the lingo, a lot of the lexicon, a lot of the terms and situations and variables and everything that I had known previously, and just kind of like, it's like getting back on a bicycle.
Yeah.
And realizing I'm still good at this. Now, it's also, now as an independent, there were also some new things that I had to learn and everything, and that's why we went into that, started talking about networking and how to meet people that way. But with how I had, my mental state, mind you, and everything, this was still smack dab in the middle of the pandemic, so everybody's mental state was a little
Jacked.
Yeah. Everybody's sleeping schedule is all messed up, going to bed at 3 p.m., waking up at 12 midnight.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers that. But, some of those obstacles, I feel, were just, call it character development.
Okay.
Trying to force you to be creative, find ways to overcome this and that and so on and so forth. So I went back into LinkedIn, and I realized it felt like the Wild West all over again. Sending out, because back when I first started on LinkedIn and everything, I'd send out 20 messages and get like 10 replies. Now I can send out 200 and get maybe 3 replies.
Okay.
Because I realized everybody else was using the same approach. So I was like, oh, I got to do something else. Mm-hmm. And that was when I changed my LinkedIn approach to more how I function at a networking event.
Okay.
I see some, like, for instance, and everything, somebody on LinkedIn I saw had like a barbecue sauce company. And I just sent a message going, how does your sauce compare to whatever this restaurant serves? And instead of saying, hey, you want to set up an appointment to talk business? I'm talking about them. What people like to hear most is about them. What I like to do most is learn more about them. As I said, I like people. And this guy, it's like when I was looking at my previous messages, and the first time I messaged him some years ago, it was, hey, let's set up an appointment to talk business, somewhere along those lines, and no reply, crickets.
Yeah.
But this time I changed it around. Well, that wasn't this year, it was last year, but I changed it around and messaged him about his barbecue sauce. Mm-hmm. Now he wants to talk to me. Now he's, wants to, correspond. Now he wants to add me on Instagram and everything and keep me up to date. And again, and everything, it's about being able to relate to other people, or being able to talk about something that's relevant to them. I mean, why would a person want to talk about finance? It's like, why would a person on LinkedIn want to talk about financial stuff when they're over there talking about this? So what do? I talk about their business because I genuinely want to learn about their business. And I mean, like, I'm not gonna, I don't know, what's something I don't like on LinkedIn. I don't like kombucha. I'm not gonna message somebody about kombucha.
I don't like it either.
No, but I love that example, because I will say, like, my LinkedIn, I get, bajillions of messages. I've responded to one message ever in my life on LinkedIn, and it was a guy who was like, hockey dad here, have a question about hockey. And it was all about hockey because I'm a hockey mom.
And it wasn't about real estate at all.
It was not at all about real estate whatsoever. And then somewhere in the end, he was like, he asked me a question about like youth hockey or something. And so I actually responded, and come to find out he is in real estate. He ended up on our podcast. We had an amazing episode. I loved everything about him. I got to actually reach back out. You just reminded me of him. But that is literally the only message I've ever responded to, was something that had nothing to do with it. Because I always think they're bots. Like, honestly, every single message I get on LinkedIn, I automatically assume it's a bot or a VA or nothing that's authentic and wants to actually like do business with me, because it's not personal. So I love that you use that example. And I think that is such a great tip and resource for our listeners.
Well, with, AI coming out, a lot of them are bots. And I don't know if maybe it's just because I was, English was my best subject back in high school, but I can kind of tell what's AI and what's not. What comes from the heart. There's a certain coldness that comes through, and that's something that I don't want to convey when I'm messaging somebody on LinkedIn. I want to be able to come off as I'm a person. I'm a dork. Like, that's why I'm messaging you about barbecue sauce.
Yeah. But that's something that's important to them and passionate to them. And it's like, okay, you are authentic. You do care about me, not just my dollars and cents. And I think that that's so, so important when you're building out, especially when you're building out on, LinkedIn is just another form of social media, right? Like, it's a business form of social media. And there's just so much bombardment, especially now with like ads, right? So I'm on
Everybody's
Instagram.
now on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Everyone is on there. It used to be, like you said, that it was like when Facebook started and everybody was still on MySpace. Like,
yes,
it is the new space. It is the new space, and it's, you got to find ways to make yourself stand out.
Yes.
And the one thing before we start wrapping up that I wanted to chat about is, once you get in front of people and you guys have decided you like each other, what are some problems that you help them solve? Because this was one thing that, that you and I were talking about. I'm at the beginning of like money, right? So like, I'm at this space where like
you don't have to check every price tag.
I don't have to check every price tag, and I want to make sure that I am being smart with it, because like we've talked about on the show before, we didn't grow up with this.
Yeah. I feel like that's when I realized my life had substantially changed financially, is when I stopped looking at price tags. And my friend was like, you should go to Lululemon. You'll because I'm like a big gym rat, right? And I always like would buy all these different like leggings, and she's like, you should go to Lululemon. And I'm like, okay. So I go in there and I grab some stuff, and it's around Christmas time, so I grab some stuff for my kid and his girlfriend, and like I go up to ring out, and she was like $10.98, and I'm like, this is more than $10 worth of stuff. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, do you mean $1,000? And she's like, yes, $1,098. And I'm like, for some leggings. I lost my mind, because I had like socks, scrunchies, and leggings, and like a polo for him. And I was like, oh dear. Like,
dear.
And I bought it and paid for it because I had the money to, thank the Lord. But that was like my, like, oh my gosh, like maybe sometimes do check a price tag here or there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So what, whether you're working with someone like me or you encounter someone like Trisha, what are some things that you help your clients, like the problems you solve and the navigations that you walk them through?
Well, for starters, one thing I've discovered is that a good number of people do not have any sort of plan financially. We're talking about it's like nothing in savings, nothing for retirement. Everything's in their checking account. Everything is so unoptimized. And one of the things that I learned in this industry is how to maximize savings while minimizing taxes, or minimizing liabilities, whatever form that may take, taxes primarily. And I help create a plan to be able to maximize those savings, to the point where, it's like you can grow a substantial retirement or vacation fund or business fund or college fund if you have children or whatever else, and whatever shape, way, shape, or form that may take. I won't know until I actually sit down with someone and find out their situation. Like, I'm not going to like just shove one thing into their approach or something like that and say, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, given what you told me, this is, I feel these, I give multiple options. These would be the better options for you, and the reason why. And I kind of go through how each one is structured, how it looks like, and why. And actually, why is because we do a financial analysis, budget worksheet.
I owe you that.
An investor profile to find out, are you, conservative, moderate, aggressive, bet it all on red or something like that. And, I will say maybe 99% of everyone I work with lands smack dab in moderate. Like, there's no ultra conservative, well, maybe one or two. And I've yet to meet someone who is like, I want it all on red. But that's one of the ways in which I, help out my clients and everything, being able to identify whether, tell them we need to start something. We need to create the makings of a plan, because otherwise, you don't want to be that person who has money in a mattress and then next thing you know, the house catches fire and it's all gone.
Right.
So we have to, that's why when I come out, that's why I learn more about them. I want to learn more about their mentality, and because from their mentality, that also tells me what their spending habits are, what their financial habits are, but also what's important to them. And if they have a family, then I know that their family is important to them, and I know one of the biggest things that they would probably need is life insurance. Mm-hmm. And while how I look at it is a well-structured financial plan. You have protection as the base, accumulation in the middle, distribution on top. Because without the protection, the distribution don't mean crap. Mm-hmm. You could have start trying to put money into something, and then next thing you know, something happens to you tomorrow, and well, your family is SOL.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about that? What do you do about that? What can you do about that? At that point, nothing. But we can be preventative, if you will. If we can, it's like if we are conscientious and what's the word I'm looking for? Meet the problem head on.
Okay.
As well as we can.
Yeah. So. I love that you take, like you just said, you take the time to learn what's most important to them, and you're not shoving like a one-size-fits-all program at them. Because I think that we've all been in the boat where like someone's like, oh, here's this program, here's this program, here's this program, here's this program. That was one thing that I really did appreciate when we went to lunch. You were like, so tell me about you. Like, I was ready to talk business. He's like, no. We will get to know each other, and then we will talk business. That's lunch number 2. And I'm like, oh, well, I will just enjoy my enchiladas and tell you all about Ryan.
When we met up for lunch, I had no laptop.
He didn't.
No paperwork, no tablet.
Nothing.
Now, I will say, in the past, when I would have a first meeting with somebody, yeah, I would have a laptop in front of me and be like, it was so cold and methodical,
yeah.
And that's not how I do things anymore. There's got to be a human aspect to business. Otherwise, people are not going to want to do business with me. Why should I care about doing business with you if you don't care about me?
Yeah.
And that's why I always try to emphasize that I do care, because I do. And you tearing up? Are you tearing up?
Yep.
Little bit?
Little bit.
Like, get back in there.
Yeah, because I know that Trisha and I run our business very much the same way. I try to treat every single person as $1 million deal, because whether I'm working with someone who needs to buy a home for $100,000 in Detroit, or we're working with a multi-million-dollar client, they're all people. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they have the same problems. They're just on different scales, right? I had another question I was going to ask. It left me. It's not in the notes either.
Well, I think it goes back to, like you were saying, like, you're going out to make friends, not just get business. And one thing we learned from Rachel Blue's training was it takes 200 hours of interaction to become a genuine friend with somebody. And I massively underestimated that.
Trisha's like, I have no friends.
I'm like,
I
this
have
is why I
no
have
friends.
2 friends, Dave and Kylie. Because I don't have 200 extra hours. But like, that's so vital. And I think also something that's very true is somebody may not need a financial planner right now. They might have somebody else right now, but that also could very quickly change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had a person I interviewed so many, like, because I didn't know anything about, like you said, you start out not knowing anything about financial planning usually, right? Especially if you come from, like we did, nothing. So if you come from nothing, you know nothing. And so it's very intimidating.
And you don't know what you don't know either.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. So I had to get on all of these Zooms and be like, I know nothing about anything. Please teach me. And very few of them like spent some time to get to know me. And even less of them actually came and said, here's some different options. It was always like, this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're even saying right now. Better yet, if I feel comfortable with this. And it felt very aggressive and it felt very,
cold.
Yeah, impersonal, very aggressive. And then I finally found somebody that like felt personal and I really liked and I meshed with and I hired. And I was with them for a while. And then it was like, here's this email saying you just got pushed off to another financial advisor at my firm. And I was like, what? Like, it was so impersonal. And like, I did give the girl a chance and like got on a Zoom, but I was so shook by the way that like I was just like pushed off to another planner. I was like, I'm out, bro. And then my brother-in-law does that. And so it was like, I'm talking to him at Thanksgiving, you know? And so it's like, you may not need him right now, but that doesn't mean you won't need him eventually. And now they're your friend or, you know, you've got to know them. And that's the person you're going to call and go, is this normal? Right? Because I'm like, is this the way this works? Because it feels yucky.
It feels yucky.
Because you work your whole life to accumulate that, you know, it's very important. Financial planning, it's like buying a house, right? Like, this is where I'm going to invest all of my money and my family's going to spend their time. Financial planning, I spent all of my life trying to put this together. Or I finally got this $1,000 and it may be nothing to you who does billions of dollars, but this is everything to me, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I
don't
like that.
it either.
I like your style.
We dig your vibe.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. I'm having a great time.
So, really quick before we get to the fun questions.
Oh boy.
Is there anything else? The one thing I want to ask, tools. So a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs. What tools do you use to keep yourself organized, remember all the birthdays, remember the appointments? And because I noticed, like we just said, at our lunch, like, you had nothing with you. You were taking mental notes on all of the word vomit that I was throwing on the table of like my life, my husband, my kids, my this, my that, my business. And how do you keep all of that in check and so that you can provide the very best service?
Okay, I will say that when I'm sitting down with somebody, I'm very good at picking up different bits of information, like how many children they have, how many, what the name of your husband is, because I try to relate that to somebody or something I know in life. But as far as like actual tools I use to keep myself organized, back in my previous firm, I used Salesforce. I was very familiar with that.
That was a behemoth. I've used Salesforce before, too.
It was a behemoth. But when I went independent and had to get Salesforce on my own, it was a little expensive, and I wasn't in a position to be able to invest, this much in everything per month in order to be able to use Salesforce. But I was able to simulate it using different calendar apps, using using Outlook. So whenever I meet someone for the first time, or she becomes a client, they tell me what their birthday is. I'm going to put it in Outlook so that I know to wish them a happy birthday. In fact, very recently, one of my clients, one of the bigger clients from last year, actually. Now, mind you, it took an entire year for this guy to be able to do anything. But when he finally did, that was a nice chunk of change.
Yeah.
And his birthday lands the day after Christmas. Now, during Christmas time, everybody just want to focus on just Christmas. His birthday just feels kind of
lost
in the ether, so to speak. On the 26th, 11 a.m., I ended up messaging him, happy birthday, and he messages back, you are the first person to wish me happy birthday all day. And I was like, that actually kind of makes me feel a little sad, but
Yeah.
But it meant a lot to him. And we're still working together, and he still sends me people that he knows in the hospital. It's in the hospital industry. So, but and sometimes there's no substitute. It's the 21st century and everything. Nobody uses pad and paper anymore. But sometimes I like to take notes on on my laptop and just say, this person likes this person likes that, this person has 3 children, this person was born in Uruguay or something like that, or this person has 2 businesses, or this person secretly works for the mob. I'm not gonna kidding. It's I sit down with somebody and everything. I ask where their money's coming from, and then they won't disclose where it's coming from, and I'm like,
Okay.
red flag. Red flag, and I'm like, this person probably works for the mob. Probably want to check underneath my car before I turn it on. A little dark, but yeah. And organization is paramount when it comes to business. And the way I look at how I run my business is, I usually schedule my gym time every 2 days. I do the same thing with my business. If today's leg day, if today's networking day, if today's calling existing clients for reviews day, today's upper body day. Today is looking up different concepts and everything that you can share with clients day. And today is shoulders day.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. And it doesn't turn off even on the weekends and everything.
No, it doesn't.
So I have worked on the weekends. I've done a Zoom call at 3 a.m. in the morning one time. Actually, I've been at a client's house at 3 a.m. in the morning in the bad part of Detroit one time.
Nice.
That was a while ago.
That's entrepreneurship, if I ever did hear it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that any business owner, any entrepreneur feels that very hard. And that is one thing that, I think a lot of people who don't own their own business look at people who own their own business or who do real estate, for example, and they're like, oh, how often have you heard, oh, it must be nice to run your own. Oh, it must be nice. And Trisha's making the face because it literally never stops. It never stops. I was telling Trish the other day, Casey's little girlfriend's mom, I don't just let my kids, just go. So I need to meet the moms. I usually invite them to my house so that I can learn about them. They can learn about me. We can have a nice conversation and I can decide if my kid will be going to your house unsupervised, right? And she's been trying to put together a play date for a while. She's like, how about Saturday? I'm like, oh, got an inspection. How about Sunday? Well, we got church and then I got showings. Literally never stops. And so keeping organized and just maintaining all of that is a lot. It's a lot.
It is. And before we wrap up, Anthony, tell our listeners where they can find you. Obviously,
Yes.
now everybody wants to be your best friend and hang out. So how do they get a hold of you?
Okay, so best way to reach me is my phone number, 313-575-0355. Had that number since I was 18 years old. Hasn't changed. I don't have any stalkers, at least not that I know of. I respond to texts fairly quickly. If I don't respond, I'm probably busy with business or personal or networking or something like that, but I will get back to you. Voicemails are good too. I can also be emailed at DeGuzman, my last name, DEGUZMAN _ N as in Nancy, L as in Larry, group mail. Group as in group, not Groot as in I am Groot. So DeGuzman _ Anthony at nlgroupmail.com. I can be reached out via email that way, or you can just find me on LinkedIn and send me a message there.
Make sure you put, we listened to the barbecue sauce episode.
Oh boy.
We'll also put his information in the show notes. So in case you missed that, just check our show notes and that'll be on all of our platforms as well.
Yay! Yay. Okay, fun question. You go first.
Oh boy.
If you could go back and tell 15-year-old you something, what would you tell him? What advice would you give 15-year-old you?
Ooh, I love this question. If I would go back in time and meet 15-year-old me, I'd be like, I'm going to kick your ass, boy. And like, stop wearing black all the time. Take off the damn sunglasses inside the building. You're not a vampire. You're not The Rock. You're not, be who you are. The reason why people don't want to talk to you is because you're acting all weird. And not the good kind of weird, but like the
Weird kind of weird.
The weird kind of weird. And I'm like, I had a very different mentality back then.
I think we all did. Our frontal lobes were not developed quite yet.
I really wish I could go back in time and just beat my own ass. I'd be like, boy, get up.
Maybe he needed a hug. Maybe you go back and hug him. No.
Okay. You know what? I will concede to that.
Hug me.
I get a lot more hugs now. And everything. But that's because I know how to talk to people now. I know how to socialize now. And that's wow, that is like that question I did not see coming, because I get that. You actually get that. I actually have that conversation quite a bit. Some people like, what would you do if you would talk to your younger self?
Yeah, it's a good question. That's one of her favorites. So, well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, you guys listening, I want you to subscribe to our show, please, and thank you. And make sure you share the show. There were a lot of amazing nuggets that Anthony shared with us. Make sure you reach out to him with all of your questions. And come back next week, because we drop fresh content every Thursday here on The Elite Life.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on the Elite Life Podcast with Trish and Kylie. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend so we can keep delivering you more fantastic insights on grit, grace, and growth. Stay connected with us on Instagram and Facebook, where we'll keep the ideas flowing to help you build a life you love and leave a legacy you can be proud of. Until next time.